Not from Leicester, not from Kettering, and not from Northampton. Live from Market Harborough, this is 95.1 HFM.
HFM Weather in association with the new South Leicestershire Learning Innovation Centre. New location, new ways of learning, new experience for you. For more information, telephone free on 0800 731 6723.
Stage, I'd like to bring in Thomas Schauer. I know he's joined us this morning from Germany. He's not logged onto the internet, but he's waiting there on the end of the line. Thomas, how are you?
I'm fine, but our internet is not.
Oh, your internet's not fine.
We seems that we have no internet this morning. I do not know why yet, but maybe there is a fallout of electricity.
A fallout of electricity, yes, that's an interesting phrase. Well, it was a great pleasure to have you on the programme last week, Thomas. I know you're not a particular football fan, and as you said in your message to me, the only way that you know that there is any World Cup activity is when the streets are empty. But there's a big match on today. It's Germany against Ireland. It's over at lunchtime in the UK, so I'm going to be watching that programme. So, Thomas, I'm just going to go onto the internet and see if I can find your profile there. Just bring it up on the screen so that those people who are logged onto the internet will be able to recall a little bit of information about you. So, Thomas, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your activities.
I'm working in Ulm at the Research Institute for Applied Knowledge Processing, which is an institute which, on the one hand, develops software, for example, for environmental information systems, for knowledge management and so on, and which, on the other hand, also makes technology impact assessment.
Right.
And that's the area where I'm working in.
So you're really in an ideal position, really, to give us the benefit of your knowledge about the impact of information communications technology in this area. Have you got any views on how ICT is going to affect democracy?
Yes, I think with respect to discussion and distribution of opinions, especially distribution of opinions of minorities, there is a big advance by information technology. Where I see risk is if we introduce too fast some election procedures via the internet. Yeah, it may happen, and it has already happened,
yes,
that there is cheating, that the system does not function.
Right.
And in this case, the image of the internet gets a damage which cannot be repaired easily.
Right. So you think there's a danger of us rushing too far headlong into e-democracy because of the potential for abuse?
Yes, and as we know from the past, there happen always the things which we did not expect to happen.
What sort of things are you talking about?
Yeah, for example, you know these meetings of the economic and political leaders in Davos.
Yes, in Davos, yeah.
It was, for example, possible to access the personal data, including credit card numbers, including mobile phone numbers of all the people, including Yasser Arafat, Mr. Sharon, and so on.
Right.
Yeah,
So
there are always holes. Or with respect to voting procedures, the Green Party in Germany tried to arrange voting on their convent, and it was a complete failure. The whole event had to be repeated.
Right. This was actually electronic voting at the event. Did it involve people remotely?
Yes, it was electronic voting at the event, and it did not function. There were wrong results.
And why was that?
Oh, it was not clear.
Right.
But it turned out that it had to be repeated. So if these things happen, if technology is introduced in an unripe state, the delay of the introduction will be bigger than the delay which would be created if we wait until we have better technology.
Right. So your view would be that we should wait until the technology is a little bit more secure.
Yes, security first.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'd just like to just touch on that point and explore that a little bit further, because as you know, that there are some developments going on with ICANN, which is an organisation which is designed to set policies for the internet on a worldwide basis, intended to be an extremely democratic process. We've got IP version 6 coming down the line, which will not only provide the internet with many billions more of web addresses to provide sufficient capacity, but will also have some implications for personal privacy. Now, I don't know what your views on this are. What's your attitude to the internet and privacy as far as democracy is concerned?
I think I'm following what is going ICANN a little bit skeptically. We had the very advanced e-democracy there when the board of directors was elected.
Yeah.
And presently they are discussing of finishing this experiment and not repeating these elections.
Right, so...
And, of course, there were problems with this election, because I think in Europe and Northern America there were thousands of people participating in the election, and in Africa there were, I think, 18.
Yes.
Yeah, on the whole continent. So there is a big problem with the minorities who have bad internet access being represented adequately. But nevertheless, I think this experiment should be continued.
Yes.
Because also with the present construction of ICANN, with the participation of industry, government and the non-governmental sector on a rather equal base, we have a progress compared to other areas of politics.
Yeah. Well, it's a very interesting area. I know we're having some experiments here in the UK in e-democracy, and I'm very familiar with the work of Stephen Clift over in Minneapolis. In many ways, he's one of the founders of e-democracy. Can I just move on to the impact of ICT and women, Thomas? Do you have any views, opinions of the way in which information communication technology affects gender issues?
In the beginning of the internet, the women were disadvantaged. They had less access. And in many countries, they still have statistically less access to the internet. Maybe this is correlated to less technical interest, which has, of course, nothing to do with talent, but with education.
Yeah.
But in most countries, the situation is changing now. We got, for example, from Russia the information that the figures are almost equal, and also in Germany the number of male and female servers are practically equal in the younger generation. Yeah? There are still larger differences in the elder generation.
Yeah. So things are changing, and I've not looked at the figures recently, but it seems that we're moving much towards pretty much a 50-50 split in terms of internet users. Do you think this will change the balance of power at all? Are women better equipped to use information communication technology than men are?
Okay, scientists say women are more talented to do many things at the same time.
Yes.
And if you consider how often you have to do that at the internet, they may have an advantage.
Yes. So, in other words, women may have latent skills, or not even latent, very apparent skills, which equip them better to use these technologies than men. Maybe,
yes.
Yeah. Well, just on that point, very quickly, because I want to move on to Sue very shortly. I was over in Germany a couple of weeks ago at a conference in Berchtesgaden, and there was some research presented by a lady scientist. I think she was from Finland, and some of the results are quite surprising, because she was looking at the behaviour of mixed group of men and women in collaboration situations, and she had control groups who were collaborating face to face, and she had other groups who were collaborating via virtual communities. And my first impression would have been that women, because they generally more caring and more proactive, would have been able to have influenced the direction of these virtual communities better than men. But in fact, that did not prove to be the case, or so the research would indicate. But it's certainly something that needs researching in more detail. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Thomas. It's a great pleasure to have you on the programme again. Please continue to join us whenever you have got the time, or there's a particular subject that interests you.